Outside the box.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast. I, as always, am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon.
It's me, Casualty, CDG, retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 51 of Fresh Out, the podcast. We've got a few things on deck today, some things that are relevant and maybe not so much so, but we'll talk the Kenobi finale here in a little bit. I'm going to talk Lightyear. We're going to talk Umbrella Academy season 3. Is that right? Third season?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
Season 3.
To kick it off, I wanted to talk about Lightyear for multiple reasons. One, I saw it, and it's okay. I think that it's getting kind of some mixed responses from people. I was probably on the more positive end, but I can understand why some people are maybe taking issue with it. But what's interesting is that we've had some movies coming out recently in the past few weeks. I mean, Top Gun Maverick's doing awesome still. Top Gun Maverick, I believe, just became the highest grossing movie of the year so far. It's surpassed Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's on its way.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's going to cross the $1 billion mark probably within the next few days or so, or next week. I don't know. But it's already past 900 million, so it's already Tom Cruise's highest grossing movie he's ever had. It's Paramount, I believe, their highest grossing movie in the history of the studio. So yeah, Top Gun Maverick
I
doing...
feel like I don't know what world you people live in. Me and my friends haven't seen this movie.
I haven't
We
seen
don't
it?
care. Yeah, we don't care. You're like the only person I know.
Not only have I seen it, I saw it again today. And I liked it even more than I did the first time.
Wow. That's
It's-
nuts.
It's so good. It's just... I had already seen it. I went and saw it with my wife this time so she could see it. And I said this before when we initially reviewed it. I don't know how else to put it other than it's just the most movie that I've seen in the past 5 years.
Still doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean
it's
anything, and it still doesn't.
It's got great action. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It does everything. It's an original story.
It'll teach
It's
a
just-
kid how
it's
to ride a
not-
bike.
I love all the comic movies and all that stuff. There's just something about this that feels more classic movie, yet it's a modern film. The closest comparison I
get
have
what
is
you're
the way
saying.
that I felt after seeing Mad Max Fury Road when that came out.
Ooh, that was a
the
good
closest
one.
comparison I have.
That was a mind-blowing cinematic experience for real. It reminds me of how I felt after I left the theater after the first Independence Day when I was a kid.
And I'm not
Really
saying
blew
that
my hair back.
Top Gun Maverick is better than Mad Max Fury Road, to be clear. But I'm just saying that it gave me that feeling of like, yes, movies.
In order to be popular,
Power
you
of
don't have
cinema.
to be good. You just have to appeal to the slack-jawed masses.
And you're saying that Lightyear is way better than Top Gun.
No. So this is what's interesting. I'm definitely not saying that. The box office has been doing pretty well, all things considered. There's not nearly the same amount of movies coming out as there were pre-pandemic, but there's movies coming out, and they're making some decent money. You know, Jurassic World Dominion had a really good opening weekend.
Right.
But the crazy thing is that before a movie comes out, there's the studios put out a estimate of, we think this movie is going to make about X amount of money this weekend. And usually that number is on the low end, because then when the number's higher than that, they can brag and say, "Oh, hey, we made all this money and it's great."
So why don't they just go, I think it's gonna make $10.
Yeah, right. Well, because they still want to show they have confidence in their movie, right? So Lightyear is interesting because the initial forecast was that it was gonna come out and make $70 to $80 million in its opening weekend, and it barely crossed the $50 million mark. So not only did it come in under expectations, it came in significantly under expectations. And I'm looking at so Jurassic World Dominion topped Lightyear in Lightyear's opening weekend during Jurassic World Dominion's second weekend. So that's pretty significant. I'm looking right now what Deadline's reporting for the box office this week. The big new release this week was Elvis, the new Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. And it's heading towards around 31 million, and it'll be probably number 1. Number 2 is looking to be, let's see, I believe Top Gun Maverick is supposed to be number 2, which is crazy that it is now surpassing Jurassic World Dominion again. Top Gun Maverick's estimated to make about 30 million. The Black Phone, the new horror movie starring Ethan Hawke, I think that looks really good.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Is estimated 23. Jurassic World Dominion probably around 26, and Lightyear estimated to make about 17 to 19 million. So over a 50% drop from its already underwhelming opening weekend. So I just find it really interesting because Gary and I talked about this a little bit the past week, Jahans, just to loop you in on that, about why this has happened and just how weird Lightyear is from a premise standpoint, because it's a spin-off of the Toy Story movies, which are pretty surefire box office bets in the past, and Pixar in general is typically been a pretty sure box office bet. But this is the first Pixar movie to come out in theaters since Onward, which Onward came out right at the beginning of the pandemic,
right,
and it got pulled. Theaters closed while it was still showing, and then it came out on Disney Plus not long after. And since then, we've had Soul, Luca, and Turning Red all go straight to Disney Plus. So this is the first Pixar movie to be released in theaters since the beginning of the pandemic, and it's underperformed. And there's lots of dialogue out there as to why that could be. Lightyear got a little bit of an interesting press cycle because there were so many headlines about the gay kiss that took place in it, which is super tasteful in the movie and such a small moment that's like absolutely not worth anybody ever making a big deal about it. It's so silly.
You heard about that theater in Oklahoma, right?
I did not. What happened here?
They put up a warning on like a sign that was like, warning, gay kiss. Right. And it's like what are you doing? That's like, think about how insane that is. It's crazy.
It's so
gay
sad.
Kiss is that's gay Gene Simmons, that's gay Ace Frehley, instead of the black and white face paint, of course it's all rainbow face paint.
I would go to that show. That'd be dope. It'd be a good show.
Warning, gay kiss, and you get inside and it's a concert where you get blasted with glitter.
It's just sad that headline became a big narrative around that movie's release when it's really not a big deal within the movie at all. It's actually a pretty nice moment in the movie, to be honest with you.
I knew nothing about this. I haven't heard about it. I haven't heard anyone complain. I haven't seen the headlines. I'm totally living under a rock in the middle of the desert, and I know nothing. This is news to me.
But to be clear, I don't think that those headlines would impact the box office of this movie to that degree. Like, obviously, people just weren't going out to see this movie. It's as simple as that. And there were some mixed reviews on it. I don't think that's the reason why either. I think that it's
ain't gonna go watch no gay spaceman movie, and I ain't taking my family to see no gay spaceman either.
Yeah. No, see, I agree. I don't think that's what happened. I mean, when it comes to these movies, man, like Jurassic World, like it was in my face 24/7 for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before it came out. I mean, I hardly saw trailers for this movie. I would see them every now and again. Honestly, the trailers weren't that exciting. I feel like they did a lot of like unimportant moments in their trailer. It just didn't grab me, you know. I want to see it, and I'm a fan of Toy Story, but like this movie really wasn't hyped up the right way for me. I don't know. I'm not that excited.
That's fair, and I think that a lot of the parent-children relationship of movies and going to the movies, I think changed during the pandemic. And in my opinion, that's really the foundation of all this, is that
Interesting.
we had so many animated movies or kids movies that came straight to Disney Plus or straight to streaming services. And now I think that's trained a lot of parents to say, you know, I know for a fact that Lightyear is going to come to Disney Plus at some point. I can wait and wait until it comes out instead of taking our family of 4 to the movies and paying
an arm and a leg,
$60 to $70 on tickets plus an additional $30 on popcorn and drinks and candy. I don't need to pay the whole $100+ to take my whole family when I know this is going to come to Disney Plus and my kids can watch whatever's on there.
Because people are still taking their families out to these Marvel blockbusters for the family event and paying these big. They don't mind taking the kids out. What it is specifically Lightyear. Nobody cares about this weird story, this weird perspective.
You think it's too unapproachable of a concept?
It is. It is too unapproachable. It's about a character from a series, but it doesn't involve anyone else from that series. And it's not actually that character. It's the character that the character's based on, and it's not voiced by the original guy. So there's so many like asterisks to it even being a Lightyear movie. They almost should have just called it Space Rangers and not included Buzz Lightyear at all. It's not a Buzz Lightyear thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be the movie that Andy saw that made him want the toys or something like that. I don't know,
Which was confusing because when this movie was announced, Chris Evans tweeted something along, when he was announced as voicing Buzz in the movie, he tweeted something along the lines of, this is a movie not based on Buzz Lightyear the toy, based on Buzz Lightyear the person. And so it made it seem like, oh, Buzz Lightyear was a real person.
Yeah, that is very
Andy's world. And then, yes, you're exactly right, Jahan. And the movie opens with text on the screen. I don't have it verbatim in front of me, but it said something like, in 1995, Andy received a toy based on a character from his favorite movie. This is that movie.
Bro, like, that's so weird.
This is his Star Wars, or his, Andy's Star Wars. So then it creates this whole other question, like, okay, so this movie was made in the Toy Story universe, in like circa 1992, and then Andy saw it and gets a toy in 95, or, like, how are you supposed to even put it together? I just had to not think about it.
It is kind of high concept, yeah. No, I mean...
And on top of it, some of the plot stuff, I think, gets a little complicated for younger kids because it almost goes into some interstellar territory here where there's hyperspace travel, where time moves differently in space than on a planet. So he's going on these hyperspace missions and coming back, and 4 years or more have passed on the planet. And so there's some weird things there. It really does seem like they just wanted to tell this sci-fi story and said, well, let's make it Buzz, and then that way we can make a lot of money because you can tie it to Toy Story.
I completely agree.
Unnecessary.
Fair enough.
So I didn't see the movie, but I did watch the making of and the behind the scenes on Disney Plus, all that stuff, because I love that kind of stuff. And so they showed the relationships and how it's mostly a movie about relationships and about what happens in those 4 years while he's gone and him making up for lost time. And while I'm watching that, I'm like, no, I want like Space Rangers, aliens flying around with a jetpack, blasting stuff with his arms. But like, I'm not even sure if he ever puts on the iconic Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger costume and like flies around and whoops that ass. I don't even know if that's a thing. And the trailers really didn't make it look that way. Like John said, they weren't exciting trailers. They kind of made it look like, ooh, come see this mystery that would some see what might happen to Buzz Lightyear instead of showing us
Yeah.
these dope action sequences.
Yeah, they didn't even show like Zurg in most of the trailers. But yeah, the one thing I guess the last thing that I would say that really irked me was that they're like, oh, they've never told the story of Buzz Lightyear the person before. I'm like, there's like 3 seasons of a television show where they tell the story of the Space Ranger Corps, and they're almost like the Green Lanterns, except they have spacesuits instead of magic rings, and it's like they're like galaxy. And it's like, what are you trying to sell me right now? Like, never before seen except this one time. I don't know. I'll probably still see it, but yeah, I can definitely wait for it to come out on Disney Plus.
And that's probably my recommendation at this point is just wait till it comes on Disney Plus. That being said, I think the movie's fine. Like it's enjoyable. It's probably mid to lower tier Pixar. And I think to what you're Gary, I think it was you that was saying, like, based on this kind of space story, it really is more of a human story at the center of it. Like, they're on an alien planet. You don't really see many aliens. You see some alien bugs, but a lot of the main enemies in the movie are robots because of Zurg, and Zurg's a robot in the movie. So it's like, you don't really get many aliens. You get some space travel stuff, but it's really mostly a human story set in space and a quest to rescue a colony of people. But I think it's fine. I think it has enjoyable things about it. If anything, the animation is fantastic. Pixar animation just keeps getting better and better. And so the animation, as far as animated movies go in general, it's top of its game for sure. But from a plot standpoint, it's maybe the most that Pixar's kind of showing its cards as far as the Pixar formula and what makes a Pixar movie. Sometimes I think their stuff is really incredible, but some of them almost seem like they follow the same recipe book, and I think this probably falls more in like the obvious category of that. But I do think that there's things to enjoy here. I think that Chris Evans voicing Buzz is fine in the movie. It's nothing spectacular. It's just Chris Evans. So but yeah, I'd say it's fine and leave it at that. But I have to admit, despite all that, regardless of reviews, regardless of headlines, I'm surprised that this movie is struggling at the box office as much as it seems to be.
That is surprising.
And maybe that's on me. Maybe I shouldn't be.
I love Toy Story, and I really like that entire series, but I haven't seen one in theaters since the first one. So this wasn't going to get me to go out and see it.
Well, I would say you are in the minority there, because the 3 and 4 both crossed over $1 billion at the box office, which is crazy. The third one I think was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
And I liked them, but I'm just, I'm not going to rush out to a theater to see most kids' movies. And if I had, it wouldn't have been Lightyear.
Totally understand. So anyway, I don't need to drill it into the ground anymore, but I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I just think the narrative around Lightyear is particularly interesting right now. But instead, let's get into the narrative around Obi-Wan Kenobi, because we talked about the first 2 episodes in detail when they came out, and now the whole series has run, and we've seen it all, right? All of us have seen it all?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I actually just finished watching the 6th episode moments before the recording of this podcast began.
Ooh, so it's nice and fresh out the podcast in your mind.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. I mean, I smoked since then.
So let's talk about it then, because I think that when we talked about the first 2 episodes, I was a little bit higher on those than both of you, although I think we still all had some positive things to say. I think that for me, it like started on a high and then it kind of dipped, And then I thought the last 2 episodes were pretty strong. So I'm curious to see what you all's thoughts were overall of the series.
Overall, so this series had some really cool moments, for sure. Had some really, really cool moments. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. This series was completely unnecessary, added nothing to the universe, and like was pointless. Like it had no real point. It didn't add characters to the universe. It, you know, like, are we gonna see?
It didn't strengthen any pre-existing characters.
If anything,
or
it
weaken
weakened. If anything,
Yeah,
if
it might have
anything,
weakened Darth Vader a little bit.
kind of make Vader look like a bitch at the end for me a little bit. I was like, that's not cool. And I don't know. That's how I felt about it. Just in vague terms, I wasn't a big fan.
In overall, for the entire show, yeah, I would agree that when it started, I was like, why is this show even being made? Like, we know what happens with their relationship, but maybe there's something cool here. And then by the middle, conceptually, I was pretty into it because it took the relationship of Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. It took it to the next level for me, where now I realized that there was this moment where he found Obi-Wan and he was almost gonna have him, and Obi-Wan was gonna slip away and disappear again. And I thought conceptually, how frustrating for Darth Vader as a big, powerful bad guy. How frustrating that must be. And then by the time we got to the end, that wasn't what happened. It did cheapen Darth Vader, and it didn't make any other characters any stronger or better. Some of the characters they introduced to the series that I didn't like, that I thought were pretty bad characters, were still bad and pretty pointless by the end. Of course, I'm talking about the third sister or the first leader or whatever her name ended up being by the end. But she was just really, man, her arc was just not great. It was just not fun to watch.
I actually liked her a lot.
I don't know, the series as a whole,
but
not a huge fan of that series. I don't think I'd watch it again.
But
I think everything y'all are saying is fair. I mean, I can understand it not being necessary or being kind of pointless. I would say, though, my only counter argument to that is I had a pretty fun time for the most part watching this. Like, I never felt like it was truly a slog or anything. I enjoyed it. I thought for most part it looked pretty good, and it was kind of neat to see. Should we just leave it open to spoilers? Is that
go ahead?
cool
Yeah,
at this
we can
point?
start that. Spoiler alert!
We'll just
for
talk
Obi-Wan
spoilers.
Kenobi.
I thought that it was neat to see a more versatile Vader in combat because,
Yes.
you know, if you watch the original Star Wars series, obviously, they don't have the same kind of choreography. And then the prequels had more fluent lightsaber combat, but was so heavy on the CG. And this one, it was kind of neat to see, you know, we got the little tease in Rogue One, but I thought seeing Vader in action was cool. And I know there's the fans of the animated series that have probably seen it more so there, but still, seeing it this way, I thought was cool. I thought at the beginning, I was like, why did they bring back Hayden Christensen just to wear the suit?
Yeah.
But by the end of it, I thought that it was a bit justified in bringing him back. And if anything, he hasn't had the most wonderful career since his Star Wars movies. So good for him, and for maybe getting a little bit more closure with this character, and then bringing him back. Because I enjoyed I think it was the 5th episode when they did the flashback scenes with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I really enjoyed that.
Me too.
Those were so bad.
I
was so bad.
I liked them too.
it.
The dialogue was the same dialogue over and over and over. Obi-Wan kept telling Anakin the same thing. It was really hard to watch from a dialogue
I
standpoint.
thought even with the de-aging, I was like, well, this is the best performance we've seen from Hayden Christensen in Star Wars in this little scene where he's digitally de-aged.
Yeah.
It was particularly the other guy who was so bad.
You hate Ewan McGregor.
I really do.
Yeah.
He's so flat and boring.
I thought he was
Oh
good.
my god, every single episode, he's so bad. He's so bad. What do you guys see in this guy?
He's a good
Man,
actor.
he's got like one voice, he's got one face, he talks at one speed. He's so boring.
I mean, we all have one
I
voice
think
and
maybe
face,
I think he ruined the prequel. No, actors, Jahan, are supposed to have more than one voice and one face. That's why they're professional actors.
Like, I knew that you felt this way, but I didn't realize this was going to be your hottest take amongst all this, because I do like Ewan McGregor a lot.
Ewan McGregor is trash and should be flushed down the toilet.
No, stop. No, I like him in this. I do.
He's definitely a better actor than Hayden Christensen, but, I mean...
That's why they put a mask on Hayden Christensen. I have no complaints about him and his stupid face.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I see what you're saying. Yeah, we got to see a lot more cool Vader stuff. That's what I was excited for, which is why I was upset at, like, the end. But the scene where he's, like, dragging people through fire and, like, going bananas and, like, being badass as shit in, like, the middle of the season. And then when he grabs that spaceship out of the sky with the Force, I was like, holy shit, like, that was cool. That's what I wanted to see.
Brings it down and rips the whole sidewall off. That was great.
Yeah, he just, like, he destroyed it. And then, you know, obviously there was the second one, which is stupid. I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of a cheesy, you know, switch. We got him with the switcheroo. It was kind of silly. But it was really cool to see him do that. I thought, Reva, I liked more and more as the story went on. I thought it was cool that, yeah, we were right. She was a youngling that, you know, was part of the slaughter, and she had to deal with all that stuff. And she wanted to kill Darth Vader.
We talked about it on here, and y'all had made that prediction. So it wasn't shocking, obviously, but I thought I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, we called that one, yeah.
If by deal with all that stuff, you mean that they just fast forwarded and didn't explain anything, then yeah, she had to deal with all that stuff.
She had to survive Order 66.
Yeah, and then they just fast forwarded to right now.
Yeah. Well, they didn't fast forward. We were already at right now. Then they flashbacked. But yes, they didn't fill in.
Yeah, so we didn't have to see any of her surviving all the stuff or dealing with all the stuff.
Are you saying you're more interested in seeing her having to survive on her own, infiltrating the dark side? Showing her.
Like, how did she get there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. That is a cool story.
Where she's from. And I feel like they jumped. They didn't explain much with her, and then she was trying to constantly fight for someone else's approval the entire time. That's all her character wanted to do was revenge and approval.
We all know all you have to do is make your lightsaber red, and you say "er," and then you're a bad guy, and that's it. That's all you got to do.
Now you're a Dark Jedi, and no one asks any questions about where you're from.
Well, so hold your hand out like this in a choking motion. That's it. That's all you do.
Well, so I mean, the reason she wanted Darth Vader's approval was so that she could get close enough to kill him, I feel. And then she tried. I thought it was cool that she tried. She crossed blades with Vader. That's sick. And then she went down, but wound up surviving, which was cool enough, I guess. I thought it was weird that she... I thought it was weird that she went after Luke. Like, I was like, oh.
Okay, thank you, because this was one of the things that I got hung up on too. Yeah. Is Obi-Wan kind of gets her figured out. She has her opportunity against Vader. He gets the better of her, stabs her, and I'm thinking, okay, she's dead, and then she wasn't, and the fifth episode ends with the cliffhanger of her finding the communicator that Obi-Wan had with Organa, and so. When she got it and heard it, my thought was like, okay, so what? Like, why does that matter? We know that she's in it to try to get Vader. So, like, what does that matter? I didn't really understand the motivation either. And that was the only thing that stood out to me in the finale, as well as she goes from that to then, like, being on Tatooine immediately when Obi-Wan is still on the their ship that they used to escape, and I was wondering, like, how did these times line up that she is already on Tatooine, getting into this battle with the
Well, if we
Owen
go
Lars
to the
and then-
map,
and then Obi-Wan gets there by the end of the whole confrontation. I'm like, after having this whole fight with Vader on an entirely different planet. That was the whole thing that stood out to me. I'm like, how is this
that's fair.
lining up?
I think so. They were heading to Alderaan, I believe. I think. Tatooine is like central to the system, which is why so many of these stories take place there. And then Obi-Wan went somewhere else to lure Vader. Don't know what planet that is.
It must have been really close, though, is the point.
Yeah, it must have been really close.
I'm guessing, like, I just was shocked that he goes from being on this ship to being on another planet fighting Vader to being on Tatooine, all within the span of like a couple hours.
So
I guess
I
don't know how much time has surpassed during the whole Luke.
I feel like I've looked it up before, but I feel like it doesn't take that long to cross the far, far away galaxy. For whatever reason, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I looked it up. But
I agree with you, Drew. The timeline did not add up. Obi-Wan was in too many scenes too quickly, affecting the plot in too many ways. If it were a tabletop role-playing game, that character is in too many scenes.
Yeah.
He's affecting the plot at too many times on too many planets at once. It did not make sense, and it was not good.
I
agree. And the reason it felt that way is because that Tatooine crap was just plugged in there. The whole Luke Skywalker thing didn't feel like it should have existed. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Her motivation wasn't there, and then Obi-Wan was there.
Yeah.
It felt shoehorned in, and they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to close it because it shouldn't have existed in the first place.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, so I was thinking of episode, what is it? Not 7, 8. Episode 8. The one where they're on the spaceship for a lot of it, and they're like slowly evading or whatever. They're like, we can't jump to warp. I got that flashback because, like, remember, they leave the ship in a drop ship, they make it back, they still haven't caught, like all that. Like, I did get that too. To your point of the timelines, it felt weird and dumb.
Usually one to think too hard about that kind of stuff. I'm usually the type to say, yeah, okay, you got hyper speed or whatever, I'm willing to overlook it, but just in this particular episode, it was almost disorienting for me. Of like, it opens and Reva's already on Tatooine. I'm like, how'd you get there when you were just stabbed and you're laying on the ground wherever y'all were? I don't know. That stood out to me.
I thought it was funny that she got stabbed in the stomach by a lightsaber and survived. And so did the guy that we thought she killed. Because he also got stabbed in the stomach and survived. But I guess that's what happens when you get stabbed by a blade that closes the wound it makes.
It's all about survive. The will to live, man.
Yeah, I guess. I thought it was funny that they brought... So I was happy that they brought the Inquisitor guy back because I thought he was cool. But then he didn't do anything and was pointless.
He walked out the door.
Yeah, that was it. It was like, I don't know, man.
I'm still alive. All right, I'll see you next week.
And see, the reason why I was excited that Reva survived and like continued her story, even though the whole Luke thing was weird, I was like, they keep creating characters. I don't want them to just, oh yeah, we made a character, she's dead. We made a character, she's dead. Because then, we're just watching, which is like a lot of the problem people have with Rogue One. It's like, they just made all these characters, now they're gone, it's closed loop, it's over. I liked Rogue One, but same thing. So I was happy that a character survived this ordeal and could be in the extended universe in the future. Yeah.
I mean, literally everyone's survived the entire ordeal, and she isn't, and did not help, and was not motivated to help by Obi-Wan during the rebellion. During episodes 4, 5, and 6, she wasn't there and didn't help.
Yes. Which... Yeah.
So, they made a character for no reason. And when she could have died. She should have died. She was a youngling, and she came full circle, and she almost got her revenge, and it should have been a bigger moment, and she should have died. But instead, they gave her a really bad wrap-up ending, They gave her some bad, weak moments, and now she disappears into obscurity.
It would have been cooler.
Unless they bring her back in another show, because
Yeah.
I guess they could make other shows in this timeline.
I think
But as it stands, they didn't do anything.
I think they want to make more shows in this timeline. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But it might have been cooler for her to have come closer to killing Vader and have died.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Like if she had cut his mask open and then like he like ripped her limbs off with the Force, that would have been something I'd watch.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
And I do
Obi-Wan.
like the Inquisitors in general,
I
like
do
the idea of them, and I would like to see more of them in the live action shows. Like there's still a
Yeah.
lot of room for them to play with that concept. And,
More
we've seen it in the-
inquisiting.
It was
Yeah, we've
weird.
seen it in the Fallen Order video game and in some of the animated shows. I'd like to see more of it here. I think there's some things to explore there.
Did that, what was his name, fifth brother guy or whatever, die or something? Because like he was gone too, and then like so
Nope.
he never
I
came
don't
back.
think he died.
He never came back. The other guy came back, did nothing. It was just weird, man. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, it was weird that they brought the
many
original
weird-
Grand Inquisitor from the series back at the end, only for him to just say, "I'm back," and then that was it. Never, not even appear again.
Mhm.
It was weird. I don't know, man. They made a lot of weird choices, and then I guess we have to
So I
talk
have a
about the
complaint.
fight.
but
Yeah, go ahead.
This might be like a long time lasting Star Wars complaint. And of course, there's plot holes if you look for them, right? But this one to me really stuck out. That Darth Vader can feel Obi-Wan's presence on a planet. Like he could tell he's there. Maybe not exactly where he's at, but he could tell he's there. So they have this big final fight in the end, this big awesome showdown with all this cool earth bending, and Vader grabs the ground and it makes an earthquake, and Obi-Wan collapses into a pit, and I was like, damn! And then he goes over and he's like, gonna smash you with a rock, except he throws it like just over his left leg, and he's like, now I got you, cause smash you with a rock, and he puts it over Obi-Wan's right leg. And he's like, cause smash you with a rock, and he like puts it across his shoulder. And he's like, cause smash you with a rock, and he puts it over the other shoulder. And then he smashes him with a rock across his chest, and then he smashes a rock on top of him. But he doesn't ever hit him with any of the rocks. Like he carefully buries him, like rocks around him with sticks.
Yeah.
Like the same way that you would do if you were trying to protect your friend and not smash them with rocks. He like very, very carefully put him in a safe rock house. And then walked away like, he's dead. Like you feel the Force. You know his life force. You know he's not dead. You know you built an igloo around him. Like you know he's in there.
Yeah,
you
not
just put him
only-
in there.
not
and
only-
you can feel his life on a planet.
Yeah, not only was his life
Go
force
ahead,
still
Tom.
there, he was actively using the Force. Like, a lot. He
Yeah.
was like, Force field, and you can't feel that? Like,
He was
I had
like,
the
come
same
on,
complaint.
Spider-Man. Come on, Spider-Man. Yeah, that was dumb.
I had the same
This
complaint.
is the type of stuff I can't overlook. I'm like, because the Force. It's the Force. Obi-Wan's got the Force. Maybe he made a Force barrier and protected himself from the rocks.
But
and
that's
maybe
the
he
whole
used the
thing.
Force to
When you
to
use the
keep-
Force, then you know someone's using the Force. It's like turning on the fucking beacon.
What if you use the Force to make it so somebody else can't sense your Force?
Bro, if
Only like Yoda and Mace Windu can do that.
if Leia can feel Han Solo die across the galaxy, I feel like Darth Vader should know that his like most significant
Best friend,
influence and best
master.
friend is still alive feet away. Is all
Right
that's
there,
all I'm
right?
saying. Like
Yeah, he's too caught up in his emotions and being like, yeah, I did it, and being too cocky, and then he's not using the Force properly, which is why
But
Obi-Wan's
true.
able to get the drop
And
on him
also
and
he's-
go, yeah, and then
But true,
slice
he
his
didn't-
helmet open. Yeah.
And he also turned off his
Didn't
ears
even-
because Obi-Wan's like, I'm holding up rocks loudly. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like it was
Man,
quiet.
And then, like, why did Obi-Wan throw like an avalanche rock storm?
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing. So I was complaining about that. What's with
It
all
was
the
cool.
rocks all of a sudden? Like, why is rocks the thing? There was never
Well,
any
they were on
Force
a rock
lightning.
planet.
Yeah, of course
They were on the rock planet, but like Obi-Wan doesn't get down like that. Obi-Wan
they had
doesn't
to showcase
use the Force to throw rocks and meteors and stuff.
They had to showcase he got his mojo back, and he could
Yeah,
lift
but
all those rocks and throw them in.
Vader
Vader.
is bad like that, though. Obi-Wan's not bad like that.
When Obi-Wan was standing there with his lightsaber and all the rocks floating behind him, all I could think of is like the memes online of all the like old Hispanic ladies that have pictures of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan like on altars because they think it's a picture of Jesus. That's all I could think about. I was like, that's hilarious. He is risen. I thought it was really funny.
I think it's easy. It is easy with any of these shows, be it Marvel, Star Wars, to just like sit and pick it apart and talk about the things that you don't like. And I understand that. I did think that visually, regardless of what you think about Vader and how he was treated in this, I thought the fight between them did look cool. But I thought when Obi-Wan's able to slice into Vader's helmet and you see his face and you hear him speak, and it goes in and out of his actual voice and then the helmet voice, I thought from an audio standpoint, editing standpoint, it was really well done. I thought that was
that was
it
cool.
sounded cool. Yeah,
that was the coolest moment in the entire finale to me.
I thought Vader did cool shit all the time in this show, and it was dope.
Yeah, they shouldn't have made an Obi-Wan show, but they should have made a Darth Vader show.
Absolutely. And it could have been about Starkiller, his friggin' apprentice from the video games.
You could also have tied into the Obi-Wan storyline. It could have been a little bit about him hunting down Obi-Wan also, and that's where you could have used Ewan McGregor instead of making it an Obi-Wan show. I think I'd rather see a Vader show.
The Vader comics have done some really good storylines, the ones that Marvel have put out, and there's some cool stuff to explore there. And if you can get, a good, like a Vader show, I would be down. I just want to see Vader going around doing Vader stuff.
Vader's
with
awesome,
nobody getting
man.
in his way.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, Vader's one of the greatest bad guys of all time. If you put him as the lead in a show, does he almost become an anti-hero? And does that make him... Does it kind of defeat the whole purpose? I don't know. Even though he does get redeemed in the end anyway. I don't know. I just like watching Vader do Vader stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a good idea for a show the other day, actually earlier today, where you live in... It's about people who live in the Empire, and they're on like an outworld, outer rim planet, and it's been basically run by warlords and spice traders and gangsters, and then the Empire takes over. So now they have consistent trade and spaceports and some modicum of police. So they love living under the Empire. Their life is better. Everything's more safe. And then rebels come and start blowing up infrastructure. And so it's about how the Empire and regular people hate the rebels and they hate what they stand for. And rebels destroy their way of life.
Sorry, I had a computer issue. There's one other thing from this to talk about, which is the cameo at the end, the very end. No, nothing.
I don't know if I saw it.
Oh yeah.
He's a ghost boy.
Oh yeah,
Ghost.
yeah. They brought back the Qui-Gons.
I couldn't say that was too surprising either. I'd seen some interviews where Liam Neeson was like, "No, I'm not in it," blah 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 blah, and I'm like, we just had an entire press tour at the end of last year of Andrew Garfield saying that he, swearing that he was not in Spider-Man No Way Home. So when Liam Neeson's like, "No, I'm not in this," I'm like, "You gonna show up as a ghost boy?" And he sure did at the very end.
That's because Liam Neeson is a liar, and you cannot trust him, and you should never like any of his work again.
All of these shows and movies would have benefited greatly from coming out in the correct chronological order. That's all I can say. If the prequels had been the first movies, and then this came out in between the prequels and the other stuff, and we don't know what happened to the twins, and like blah blah blah, it would have been probably a little cooler. But I don't know.
Which is why we just need more original Star Wars content that has no ties to the Skywalker saga, no ties to the original. There's an entire galaxy far, far away to explore.
See, you can have some
new. You guys remember that time that Dark Jedi flew to Tatooine and then couldn't kill a moisture farmer that was trying to fight her with a muffler, and then got her ass beat by the moisture farmer's wife but she couldn't beat her in a fight either. And then she couldn't beat a 10-year-old in a foot race across a flat desert. But then later, the 10-year-old's parents were looking for him, and they walked 30 feet from the house and screamed his name over and over without taking any more steps or spreading out or getting in a vehicle. They just stood in the front yard of the desert saying Luke over and over. You remember any of that?
Well,
because
I watched
that show was not good.
I watched
not
it.
a good show.
The problem here.
I watched it with Jenny, and when she was fighting Rue and Owen, I was like, if they win, what the hell is the point?
What is that? No wonder she couldn't beat Darth Vader.
Yeah, she's like, I also said the thing. I was like, they're moisture farmers.
She's the worst Dark Jedi that ever existed.
I feel like they just did her dirty. I don't know, man. They were trying to build up the wrong characters. You don't need to build up Uncle Owen and Emperor.
No, you
They're
do
moisture
not.
farmers. Why are they secretly
anymore, they're not.
badasses with
Yeah,
guns?
they're badasses.
Where
Yeah,
was
they
that
are.
when they got executed by the Empire? But whatever.
I will say this. I want to give our friend Blake a shout out on the show because he's a mega Star Wars fan, and I mean I'm a Star Wars nerd to an extent, but he for sure puts me to shame. And so and he has watched all the animated shows and everything, and just he had sent a message that he said, and I'm just going to read what he sent. He said, "This isn't really spoilers, so I'll just say Clone Wars really enriched the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan for me, and there was a moment in the finale of Obi-Wan that I legit cried. This show is fan service. Nobody asked for it, but I personally am glad we got it. Casual fans won't like it as much." And that was his thing, was just basically how he was, having watched the Clone Wars, he said there was a lot of growth between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and so seeing some of those things be expanded upon here, or, that it gave him that fan service that he, in his mind it was worthwhile. And I think I enjoyed watching it too, so I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I don't wish we had gotten this show, because I don't think that that's fair to say. I mean, was it necessary? Yeah. Probably not. I feel like you can say that about a lot of disposable content, but I thought the show was fine. I thought it was produced well. I thought it looked good.
The question's really not, is it necessary? Because playing video games isn't necessary, and none of the shows are necessary. The question is, should they have made this show? And the answer is no, they shouldn't have made this show, I don't think. They should have made a different show.
I do not think that the show was good, but it did have a lot of good moments. And one of them was, the moment when Ewan McGregor or when Obi-Wan realized the Anakin's gone was cool. I just didn't, that wanted to get me. But yeah, I don't know. I could have lived without this show for sure.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll move on to a show that I actually have not watched, but you both are watching Umbrella Academy Season 3. I know you're still... Jahan's been binge watching it, I think, a little more so than Gary. Is that right?
Yeah, I've seen 7. Yeah, Gary's seen 3.
Yeah, I watched 3, and I watched them passively. I was out of town, and I had company, and we had it on, and I was watching it. And I would like to rewind it and start over so I can really catch some of the finer things going on. But from what I've seen so far, it isn't bad. Obviously, right? Because I have the intention of rewinding and starting over, so it's not bad. I really was a big fan of season 2, and I don't know if this season right now. I've only seen 3 episodes. Surely it will get better or worse. It'll do one of the two. I'm just not sure if it will be better or worse than season 2 at this point.
Yeah, so season 1 was pretty good. Season 2 is fantastic. Season 3, for me, I think it's really good. I think it has a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of interesting character development. I like the Sparrow Academy, which is
right. So in season 3, we get a lot of new characters. We get the Sparrow Academy.
Yeah, and they all have their own powers. One of the members of the Sparrow Academy is Ben, who is actually the original Umbrella Academy's dead sibling.
Yeah, he was the original number 4, and he's passed away. But in this alternate timeline that they've wound up in, Ben, their deceased brother, is one of the members of the Sparrow Academy. So they're all like, "Oh, crap, that's our dead brother."
Yeah, and he's like, "I don't know you." But then, yeah, I like the other characters too that are part of this. I think you like Alfonso. I think his name is the guy with like the melted face.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like his face is really just disfigured. I think it ties into his powers because like if you punch him, like you get hurt. Like he has like power, like damage swapping kind of ability. So his face is all like weird. But he walks around like he looks great, which I really appreciate. That guy has a lot of confidence. I
One
really
of the
like
characters is like a sentient cube.
Yeah, one of the characters is a cube. Like it's a floating cube that goes "Ah, blah, blah, blah," and like they understand him, and that's really funny. And then I like Faye, who is she's blind, but she can see through these ravens that she can summon. She's like a bird summoner, and like it's actually kind of messed up the way she does it. I don't know. I think that this season's really cool. They deal with the whole Elliot Page transformation really well. Everyone's
Yeah, I would say it didn't. I was curious how it would affect the storyline, and then I'm not a professional writer by any means, but I've always been interested in writing a show or a comic book or something. And if I were a writer and one of my performers had a gender change, I would be like, oh shit, what do I do with that character? Like in my mind, that character was male or female, what have you. And so to me, that really throws a wrench to the writer and to the story you're going to tell. But they did such a great job. They moved. It's flawless. It doesn't interrupt the story. It's not some big crashing moment where you're trying to decide whether or not it fits in. It's fine. The transition is seamless. As a viewer and person watching, the characters don't make an issue of it, so you don't make an issue of it. It seems like a really natural flow in transition. So that to me was really great.
So yeah, yeah. What?
I like in shows and things like this where because we live in such a like a tabloid world where you kind of know what's going on sometimes in personal lives of celebrities and such, and when they can incorporate that into the story of or a piece of art that they're in, I think that's to bring it full circle and for me to talk about Top Gun again. They do this with Iceman in the new Top Gun and with Val Kilmer, because we know he has some pretty severe health problems in real life, and especially affecting his voice and everything, and they incorporate some of those things into the movie in a very well done way that's very tasteful. And so I think that when you do that, it makes it easy to accept what's going on in the storyline of what you're watching, because it's
You're
real.
right. And I tell you what was kind of strange for me from my standpoint and from my perspective is we grew up on like X-Men, right? 90s X-Men cartoon and that kind of thing. And there was never the point where they said Cyclops is a female. Like Cyclops identifies as a female, and Cyclops has always identified as a female. That didn't happen. But because of the time we live in, and Umbrella Academy being current, it's a current series that is being written. They can work with their performers, they can work with their actors, their plot, their story, and make these stories shown and seen and understood, which I think is really cool. It's not a new character. You know what I mean? It's current. To be able to see this is the first time this has ever happened. I think I really like it.
It's definitely, yeah. I don't know if it's the first time, but yeah, I can't think of another time. No, they do it well. They do it tastefully. It's not pandering.
Yeah.
It's it's representation matters, and this is good representation. And
I was afraid it might be a little pandering, and it's not at all.
I'd like to catch up on this one at some point. I actually watched half of season 1. And actually really liked it from what I saw, but that was when I was really in a more adamant, like, I don't want to watch TV shows moment in my life, which I've been y'all have kind of seen it happen in real time as we've been recording the show, because I watch a lot more TV these days than I was even a year ago. But still, it's one that I just got caught up with other things and literally just dropped off in the middle of the season when there was a pretty big cliffhanger in the episode that I had just seen. So I'd probably
what I really like Umbrella Academy first season doesn't really have the best storyline, but the characters are really what you fall in love with in the first season. If you can really fall in love with the characters and some of their performances, then that's what you're looking for. And then season two has a lot more of a story. They kind of, I think they knew what they were doing going into season two. They had an idea.
I actually really like
but
the story of
the
season
characters,
one, but I agree that season 2 is a lot better. Like season 2 is really good.
and then I did not like Luther at all in season one. The number one, the main guy, the sort of
Same.
Hulk-like simian ape guy.
Yeah, he's like,
and he really came around during season two.
Season 2, and then season 3. I actually think he's like really he's come a long way. I like Luther a lot in season 3. 5 just becomes such a cool character. Like 5 is always a cool character. I think the actor does a really good job.
It's 5 and Klaus. If you can't get behind 5 and Klaus, then that show's not for you.
Klaus is easily the best character. Klaus
it's
is
those
the best.
two. If you had to recast either of those characters, that show might be unwatchable. And so that's what I mean by you have to fall in love with these performances, because sometimes the plot is kind of not cheesy, sometimes it's kind of bad, sometimes it's kind of loose. But the performances from 5 and Klaus are amazing.
Yes.
The actor who plays Luther in Umbrella Academy was in the newest Resident Evil movie that Jahan and I went and saw together.
Yeah, he was Wesker, right?
He plays Wesker in the new Resident Evil movie.
That movie was just a big old diaper full of fun, friend. It's a big old.
I don't even remember you guys seeing that. That's how much of a diaper it must have been.
Together and talked about it on the podcast.
I know. I remember in hindsight. But I don't remember.
Oh yeah, Keon was.
What's up, Keon? How you doing? So what do you say, Jahan? You tell people they need to watch. They need to watch this.
I've been.
You need to get in on Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, if you haven't been in on Umbrella Academy, you're missing out. Umbrella Academy's fantastic. The casting is always good. All the characters, like every character they bring in here, they pull a lot of actors that you don't necessarily see a lot.
Like Elliot Page, personally.
Elliot Page,
I didn't like a lot of Ellen Page's work before either.
Elliot Page is the most well-known actor in the show for sure. Who was it? This in the first season, like Mary Jo Blige or something? I don't remember. It was
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, the time travel police.
Yeah, who was that? I remember it was
they
some
were great.
singer.
Are they not even in the future seasons? That's just a season 1 thing?
Something like that.
They're in season 2, I thought also.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, they're in season 2, I think. They have a whole storyline. And so yeah, it's I'm sure we don't want to spoil it for you guys, but they have a whole storyline that they go through. They stop being secondary characters and kind of become primary characters for just a little bit.
Yeah, it was Mary J. Blige. Yeah.
Mary
J. Blige is a bad guy and a badass, and it was such a cool. I don't know. It was pretty good.
I like Umbrella Academy. It really has, to me, X-Men vibes. Really reminds me of X-Men, except they were all adopted by the same dad on the same day. They were all born with a superpower, and the dad is not like Professor X.
Dad's a dick. Yeah.
And so I really think that's cool. I like this sort of, it's almost X-Men in my head type of thing. A lot of the powers are things that are new and cool that I'm not used to. Like one guy can talk to and see ghosts and dead people, but he's not super fond of that. So he's always jacked up on drugs, trying not to let that affect his life. There's a girl who has the power, no matter what she says, you have to do it. So that also screws up her life really bad. So she's sworn off her power. So you get a lot of neat things going on here. A lot of mix-ups of powers you've never seen before. I like Umbrella Academy just for that. Just because it looks like if you threw sort of a what-if in the blender.
Yeah, their powers are really interesting, especially when you consider the Sparrow Academy's addition of their powers. You saw the dance scene, right, Gary?
That was so stupid.
I was laughing really hard because I figured something was going on, and then That's a funny.
So
superpower.
every single season, this director does some kind of dance scene, some kind of dance moment with all the characters. And so straight into the first episode of the third season, there's a huge dance number, and it was
Footloose.
so stupid.
Footloose. No, I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Footloose.
hilarious. I was laughing really hard. I thought it was great. Because it was supposed to be kind of a
hate
funny
that
what
there's
the hell moment.
I hate that there's a dance number every season. I hate
It
it.
does not bother me. I mean, I don't know. It seems par for the course.
I liked the one in season 1, so I'll say that. I saw enough of it to see that, and that
Of
was
course
actually the
you
moment
did.
I was kind of on board with the show.
The,
Some good needle drops.
The second season has a really similar dance sequence to the first season, but the third season's is way dumb.
No, I think the third season is one of my favorites. I like it. I like it a lot. It's really funny.
I don't want to say that it's a dance off between the Umbrella Academy and the Sparrow Academy to Footloose, Drew. I don't want to say that, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's
But-
only making me want to watch it more.
It works in the story perfectly well. It's really good. I like it a lot.
It does work in the story. That's actually true.
Yeah. I think it's great. But yeah, I don't know. This series gets epic. A lot of cool stuff happens. A lot of great visuals. A lot of great character stories. Umbrella Academy is definitely a certified fresh must watch.
I agree. It's I don't think that Umbrella Academy is necessarily good, but I do like it, and I do think that it's fun to watch,
I think it's great.
especially as a fan of superhero stuff. I'm not sure if that's true, but I like it.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I don't know. I definitely think everyone should watch it.
Cool. I think that's all we've got for this episode because we're going to be back next week with our typical kind of info drop, of everything that
Our
we've been
typical
watching.
info drop? You mean our 52nd 1 year anniversary here?
Yeah, that'll be the
Wow.
next episode.
Yeah,
We
next
can
episode
talk
we
about
episode
that.
52. A year of podcasts.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
1 year of looking
Some
at
moment.
Drew's ugly mug.
We can talk through some highlights next week. We'll do that
Absolutely.
for sure.
Thank you everyone for listening. We've been Fresh Out the Podcast. I've been Jahanan at RockFact on Twitter.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG on all the social medias. Also, if you want to hear me and Jahan every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you can do that at twitch.tv/JahanAnon. We play tabletop role-playing games, things that are like Dungeons & Dragons, except that they aren't Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to be playing Modern Age soon. Every other Friday. We play in Fantasy Age soon. Every Thursday is going to be Thursdage again on Fresh Out the Box. So come check me and Jahan out. We're playing games, chilling. We're having fun. It's great. We love it.
And I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. And you can catch me every week on Fresh Out the Podcast, talking movies and TV with these guys. And this is it for episode 51, Fresh Out the Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Stay fresh.
Trash out the box. Fresh out the box. Fresh out the box. Fresh out the box.
there, everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Out, the podcast. I am the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jehananon.
It's me, Casualty, CDG. I am the improv comedian.
I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 52 of Fresh Out, the podcast, which 52. It's the same amount of weeks in a year, and we've had a podcast out every week, which means this is a full year of podcasting.
Hell
Can
yeah.
you believe it?
Happy
You know what's
one
good
year.
about? I'm enjoying a candy bar in celebration.
It's funny that we're a year into this, and you're breaking like the number one rule of podcasting, which is don't eat on microphone, because people
Well, I usually
don't like
don't.
that. People
usually
don't like
don't.
that.
But I do like
And
candy.
some people really like it, though.
Are you doing it in celebration of 1 year,
Mhm.
or did you just happen to
Mhm.
have it?
No, it's a celebration. I think I earned this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 1 year of podcasting. We haven't missed a week, which is crazy. That's quite the...
Actually, and we've done an episode every week with a couple bonus episodes. Really, we've done more than 52, but those were bonus episodes.
Yeah.
They weren't canon, right?
Yeah, this marks
Love
the
that.
actual, like, 1 year mark. Which is just crazy. I don't know. My mind's kind of blown that we stuck with it this long. We have 52 published episodes of this podcast. And we have quite a few, like, listeners and viewers and whatnot. And it's been really cool.
I wonder if people are still wondering what candy bar I had treated myself to earlier, or if that's off of their minds completely.
Oh, yeah. What kind of candy bar were you eating there, champ?
I mean, maybe we'll just let the mystery linger a bit longer, but I'm glad that you're now on the edge of your seat.
Hit at Casualty CDG on Twitter with your guesses as to what candy bar he was eating.
Ooh, I'll eat a candy bar every week if it gets us a candy bar sponsorship.
That's fair.
So if you had to pick a favorite podcasting moment from our year of podcasting, what are you going with?
Ooh.
It's kind of a hard question. I did not prepare either of you that I was going to ask that.
I really liked when you asked us what Autobot or what Transformer we would be.
That's right.
That was
That's
exciting.
right.
And
I still like the James the Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
James the Rock Johnson's
I'm a
hilarious.
Big fan of James the Rock Johnson. That one really sticks out.
You slowly realizing that I'm obsessed with zombies and quickly growing tired of me talking about
I can tell you what my
zombies.
least favorite moment of the podcast.
Sea of Thieves?
This might be one of my favorites.
When Jahan pretended not to know about the Will Smith Chris Rock slap
Huge fan.
at the Oscars.
I was a huge fan of that moment. That was really golden.
Will Smith slapped James the Rock Johnson?
I knew you were gonna do this. I knew you were gonna act again like you didn't know.
I don't know what you're
Not
talking
having
about,
it.
Drew. I don't know what you're
Not
talking
having
about.
it here today.
The Ooskers?
There was a little slap and tickle. Let's just say there's a little slap and
A
tickle.
little slap.
I've actually
tickle.
been watching a bunch of Netflix comedy stand-ups like since then. Netflix is doing like a whole stand-up thing right now, presented by a bunch of different celebrities, and everyone is like trying to make a joke about it now, about the Chris Rock Will Smith slap thing.
You know, the
I've
funny
seen a
thing
few
about
people
that
do
is
it.
the only person I want to see make a joke about it is Chris Rock himself. I don't care about anybody else making a joke about it. It'd only be funny to me if it comes from him.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different people who are like, "Oh, I'm ready in case anybody comes up here tonight. I've got my hands up." And then other people who like do the opposite. They're like, I'm fast tonight. I'm scared. If anybody comes up here, I'll be off stage so fast they're not gonna be able to catch me." But it's like the same old bit, and I'm already sick of it.
Yeah, it's
Jahan's
really
bit
lame.
was better.
My bit was
Pretending
much
that you
better.
have no idea what it is was way better than the bit people are doing
Mine was
now.
way better. I still can't believe that that Jaden Smith slapped his uncle at the Emmys.
Oh boy. Oh boy,
I'll keep going.
I don't like.
It's time
This
to move
is going
on.
to be
Drew.
my new least favorite moment on the podcast.
It's time to move on. Because I will
Well,
keep this
I
up.
just wanted to say that I enjoy speaking to you all on a regular basis, and especially in a pandemic era previously where you have less physical in-person meetings with people. We started this a year ago, and I enjoy that I know I'm going to be speaking to you all regularly each week, and I enjoy that. It gives me fulfillment. I enjoy, for some reason, each of your presence, even if it's via a Zoom screen. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And thank you, audience, anybody who's listening to this today. Thank you. And I just assume if we keep doing this every week, eventually more and more people are going to listen to it, right? That's just how it works. You just keep
I don't
doing it.
know, man. I haven't been looking at the stats. You got those. I don't know if we're on an upwards or a straight line or what, but I
It's
imagine
been pretty good.
It's been pretty good?
consistent.
if we have
Yeah,
consistent
it's been
growth,
good.
I mean, eventually we'll have lots of viewers. Yeah, I mean,
I'm glad that we're doing. You guys are.
yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice to be able to talk with friends. Yeah, pandemic
Very
was
beautiful. Beautifully said, Gary.
Thanks.
The
Thank you.
The pandemic has made social interaction very difficult, especially for people like me who always had trouble with social interaction. In person, I get uncomfortable, and this is a nice way to talk to people without having to actually smell your face.
Speaking of smell your face, I saw like right as we were starting, you really beefed yourself out over there.
I did. I beat myself out
Yeah.
real bad. Yeah.
I'm really glad that that's why we're. Another thing about doing this is we're not in person, so we don't have to deal with your beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause that looked good. It
You
looked
think
like
the
some.
word beef makes it sound so much grosser.
Oh,
It looked like really rich beef. You should have seen him.
yeah. You could cut it with a fork. Like,
Yeah,
Ugh.
it looked like that had been in the
Yeah.
crock pot brewing, and now you could put it over mashed potatoes, make it so gravy.
All right. This is a perfect opportunity for us to actually turn to some of the things that we've been watching.
to
and
turn the other
enjoying
cheek, Drew.
turn the other beef. Over the past week or so. So I guess I will start because I've got lots of movies to talk about.
Yeah, good.
And the first one I want to talk about is Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Are you familiar with Marcel the Shell?
I've heard a lot of people mention this. I don't know anything about it.
Really?
I
Okay, so
remember the Marcel the Shell like YouTube shorts from
Yes.
years ago. What is it, 2022 now? So what would it like a decade ago? And 12?
the first Marcel the Shell YouTube video came out around like 2010-ish, I want to say.
Mhm.
It kind of went viral. It's a little anthropomorphic seashell with a googly eye that talks about his little life as a seashell, but it's voiced by Jenny Slate. And it's actually directed by her ex-husband, her husband at the time, directed, and she voiced it, and it's like kind of like a mockumentary, right? Like it's like off-camera questions being asked to Marcel that Marcel answers. And so there were 3 short films, I think, between 2010 and 2014. And now, over a decade later, there's a movie that's coming out. It's been released, I think, limited. It's not released wide until July, but I got to go to a screening, and I'll have a review up later. I wrote it for nerdtropolis.com, and it will be up, I think, in like July 11th or something like that. But I just still want to give some reactions to this movie while I can here on this platform of ours. And if you've seen
Do you
those
think that in
short-
14 years that we'll get to make our own film also?
Maybe fresh out the podcast, the movie, or fresh out the
No,
And
podcast.
wouldn't that be awesome?
I would want to make a Salad Fingers movie.
No, let Salad Fingers make a Salad Fingers movie. Let's make Fresh Out the Podcast the movie.
Yeah, it'd be about us. It'd be about us. We
Mhm.
would be the characters.
What? What would we do?
It would be about Fresh Out the Podcast.
Okay. So it would just be us being fat pieces of shit, laying around, not doing anything, watching TV.
Sitting and talking.
It would be this, but longer
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
more
you guys
expensive.
are getting it.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys totally get
I didn't
what
know
I'm
if we were
trying
gonna like
describe to you.
search for a magical pick, or like like have like a plot.
Anyway, y'all derailed me already. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. It's just, I'll just say this: it's a really, really sweet movie. It's pretty charming. If you've seen the YouTube videos, you kind of know what to expect with this. And I was like, man, how are these 3-minute videos going to translate to a film? Like, am I going to get tired of this? And I didn't. I thought it was super charming throughout. It is given a little bit of a budget so they can go bigger, but it still mostly takes place in this one house. But it expands on the lore of these walking, talking little seashells. But
He does have
if you
little
haven't heard of
shoes
it,
on. Look at that.
yeah, if you haven't heard of it, I'd say go to YouTube, look up Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Look and see if you can find the old YouTube videos. They've got a lot of views, and they are pretty funny.
Or you can go to Pornhub and look up Marcel the Shell with shoes off.
Don't do that. Definitely don't.
I don't know what will come up because I imagine something.
It's such a great title. I love that. That's what the parody's going to be called for sure.
Mhm.
My favorite part in the movie is Marcel says, "This is my bread room," and it's Marcel's bedroom, but because Marcel's bed is actually just 2 pieces of bread that he sleeps between, he says it's his bread room because that's where he sleeps. And that's the type of humor you can expect to find in this movie, which is Drew humor to the max. So that's the type of stuff that just
It's pretty
works
on brand for me too, buddy. I might enjoy that. I get behind
Man.
a bread room.
You
so
really, you sold it to Jahan and you did the opposite for me. So
I knew that was just going to be a turnoff for Gary.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because Gary hates fun.
I really do. I can't stand joy and laughter and happiness.
I also watched a documentary on Netflix called Halftime. Actually, the full name is Jennifer Lopez Halftime. Have either of y'all happened to watch this or seen it on Netflix?
Nope.
I saw that it was there, and then I read the description, and I decided I did not want to watch that. I think.
So right. And here is the premise, right? Is it follows Jennifer Lopez from like mid to late 2019 as she learns that she's going to be performing in the Super Bowl halftime show at the 2020 Super Bowl, and kind of follows her career up until that point. But it also does some reflective stuff looking past at the past of her career, but leading up to the Super Bowl halftime show. The thing about this movie, the only reason that I even want to talk about it on here, is that all the Super Bowl halftime show stuff, to me, is the least interesting part of this documentary, which is supposed to be kind of the main reason for it. And there's some interesting things with it, right? Like, she was in it. They made her co-headline with Shakira. When, in the past, it was always a single headliner and some of the drama with that. The interesting thing about this movie for me as an Oscar guy, you know me, I'm like all into the award season and all that good stuff. And in 2019, Jennifer Lopez had a little movie come out called Hustlers. Do either of you see that movie? She plays a stripper in it.
No.
I go out of my way not to watch Jennifer Lopez movies.
Well, Hustlers is actually really good,
What
and
about
she's really
Anaconda?
good in it. And she got a Golden Globe nomination for that movie, but was getting a lot of Oscar buzz for that. So not only was she preparing for the Super Bowl, but she was going on kind of the award circuit tour, promoting Hustlers and doing interviews, and finally thinking she was going to get the career recognition you know that some of these Oscar, you know how it is with the Oscars. Like a lot of people get nominated, and it's like like almost just recognizing their entire career, and sometimes they win it because of that, and so on. It was kind of that for her. Like I think a lot of people really thought not only was she going to get nominated, but she was a front runner, and then she ended up losing the Golden Globe to Laura Dern. And then not only that, but she got snubbed for the Oscar. She didn't get nominated. And all of that is featured in the documentary. So you see her reactions to not getting nominated and how much she really wanted to be nominated and wanted to win and the validation it was going to get her career and the disappointment. And like in the awards circuit, that's not really something you ever see. You read the articles of who got snubbed and who got what, and they might make a statement about it or a joke about it in the future, but it's rare that you get to see something like this in real time. So, if you're interested in that kind of thing, or if you're like an Oscar buff like I am and like following that, then I would recommend watching this just to see the kind of behind the scenes award stuff with her, but the actual Super Bowl halftime show stuff is way less interesting. So like, you know, if that is of interest to you, then I would recommend it. If not, then maybe
Shakira
just
doesn't
skip
have.
it.
Would you?
Not very much. She's in it a
Oh.
bit, but not too much. There is more
love
of
Shakira.
Cartman doing
Damn.
Jennifer Lopez hand puppet in it
Oh,
than there is
boy.
of Shakira.
Why didn't
Oh,
you
that-
lead
that's a
with
shame.
that? You buried the lead. It has Cartman. Come on.
It definitely is referenced, the Cartman Jennifer Lopez hand puppet.
I was always
character
more of
from-
a fan of Randy actually being Lord. That was always really funny. Yeah, no, sounds like an experience. It's only 6 hours long, so
No,
Would
it's
you-
not. It's an hour and a half long.
Yeah, what is it? The
It's a quick
Beatles
90
documentary? How was it? Was it fresh? Was it friggity fresh or nah?
doesn't sound.
It
like
was freh. It was freh.
Oh wow.
It's like not quite fresh, but it wasn't bad. It's just freh.
It hasn't gone bad yet, huh? You didn't send it back to the manufacturer. You left it on the shelf. Someone else might pick it up.
I thought that there were some interesting things in it, and learning a little bit more about her career I did find to be interesting, but I just thought the award circuit stuff
Did
was
they talk
the
about
most fascinating
Anaconda?
part of it. No.
Then
Sorry.
I'm not interested.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Best thing she ever
What else
did.
did you watch, Drew?
So I want to talk about another film called Cha Cha Real Smooth, and it is on Apple TV Plus. This was the big Sundance acquisition this year. I think Apple paid like $15 million for this movie out of Sundance. And it's interesting because in 2020, a movie came out at Sundance or at South by Southwest called Shithouse. And Shithouse was directed and written by and starring a young man named Cooper Raiff. I think when that movie came out, he would have been like 21, 22 years old. So wrote it, directed it, and starred in it. And that movie is, I happened to see it like maybe a year ago because it was recommended to me by a friend. And it's super indie, small scale movie, but it's a very personal story of a young guy at college who's just kind of struggling to make friends, struggling to fit in, and is really homesick because he's really close with his family. He moved halfway across the country, and he's just really homesick, missing his family and struggling. And he starts a relationship with a girl, and you kind of see how that plays out. And I really, really liked that movie. It's very small scale, kind of coming of age stuff, but a very, very personal story that you could tell Cooper Raiff, the director, writer, actor, that's a very personal story for him. And he does this, he kind of plays this role in that film where he's a very awkward but charming, where it's like not necessarily cringy awkward, but he can give you that little bit of discomfort with just young people and how they are and like saying the wrong thing or stuttering over their words and things like that. But he manages to play it in a way that is charming. It's very interesting. So that was his first movie, and now he's back. He had another movie at Sundance this year called Cha Cha Real Smooth, another one that he wrote, directed, and starred in. But this one, like I said, got bought by Apple for $15 million because it made such a good,
Damn.
had a pretty solid premiere there at Sundance and was well received. I liked it actually a lot. It's I don't think I liked it as much as I liked Shithouse, but he's definitely playing that same kind of character, very in line. But this one is about he is now like a young man graduated from college and struggling to kind of figure out what he wants to do with his life, becomes a party starter or party host for bar mitzvahs in his town.
Nice.
And at one of them, he meets a young mom who has an autistic daughter and forms a bond relationship with her and with the daughter and becomes friends with them. And it's kind of based on that. It's got Dakota Johnson plays that young mom, and Leslie Mann is in this as well and plays Cooper Raife's mom in it. And there's some things in this that are like a little bit of a stretch from a writing standpoint, but I still just found it to be charming enough that I really did enjoy this one. So again, it's called Cha Cha Real Smooth. I think that this kid, Cooper Raife, he's 24 or 25 years old now, so he's pretty young and already had this big movie about at a Sundance, so he's a guy to kind of look out for in the future, I think, from a career standpoint. But I liked it, so you can catch it on Apple TV Plus. It's Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Two things.
You know, my single friends are always asking me what's the best way to meet girls, and I always tell them, just start hosting bar mitzvahs around your town. You know, you're sure to meet somebody that way. That's how you meet a good girl.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them to go to Briss's. That's just me. So two things, real quick. First off, I always put images up when we're talking because we do have like a video component to our live business. I always think it's funny when the top result is not the movie we're talking about. In this case, because this is like a meme, like Cha Cha Real Smooth. You know, it's a song, whatever. It is an unnerving paper mache Barney standing there with arms wide open.
Oh, sure it is. Sure is. I just Googled it as well, and that is definitely...
So that's upsetting. The second thing is, imagine if Apple had chosen to be Banana. And that's all. That's all I got. That's all I got for you.
So,
Banana TV
I think it's
Insight.
I think it's noteworthy that this is sort of what happened with Coda, right?
Mhm.
And then...
Yes.
And then Coda won the Oscar for Best Movie, and so this is, I think we're kind of looking at a similar situation now. It's early to call it, but this could be one of this year's things, right? Apple might start doing this.
It definitely seems like the acquisition, like maybe that was their goal with it, especially with the amount of money that they dropped on it. But the way that it's been received so far, like it's been pretty positively received, but I don't think... Like, for me personally, I loved Coda. Obviously, I've sung that movie's praises on this podcast multiple times. I did not like this nearly as much as that, but I thought this was a very solid movie. And honestly, the acquisitions that Apple TV Plus has been making for their movie library, I've actually really liked. I think that they've had some really solid Apple TV Plus original films, and so I think this one fits well on the service.
I just want to make a pretty bad movie. Not bad, but I mean bad comparatively. Like not $15 million out of Sundance good, but I want to be the guy who makes a movie that's like $80,000 out of Sundance good. You know, that's a big deal for me. You know, I don't need $15 million. $80,000 really changed my life. I could just make a little movie.
That's fair.
A little pop.
I guess
Right.
so. That's a good question. What genre? If you were gonna make a movie, like you personally, like both of you, what would you make?
Gosh.
Horror comedy.
Like both?
Yeah,
Like,
I would do a horror
like Shaun of the
comedy.
Dead
I would
style, like funny.
It would like an Army of Darkness esque. Lots of practical effects, a lot of cheesy one-liners.
I would have to star in it because, like, in the way that Sam Raimi just loved to torture Bruce Campbell while making the Evil Dead movies, it'd be Gary's opportunity to just make my life terrible during the filming of it.
Man, that'd be great.
I figured you would get some extra enjoyment from that.
I just
that would
want
cover
to
you in.
I just want to be one of the monsters.
I
Well, then we
probably have
shouldn't-
to make some sort of like coming of age movie myself. That's always a teen coming of age movie. That's always the type of stuff I resort to, or like
Yeah, I
the
think
genre that I really like.
I think a kids on bikes like sci-fi would be cool, or obviously, well, I would be really hella into making a creature feature of any kind, but a zombie movie obviously would be something.
Zombies.
Yeah. Everyone saw that coming,
Never
but I would
heard of
also be down for any kind of monster movie because I love pretty much all monster movies, creature features, all that kind of stuff.
Gary, you asked about the awards race, and it's so early in the year now, and a lot of like the true prestige award movies don't start coming out until fall, winter especially. But right now, if you look at kind of the Oscar trackers and what they're saying, the only things that have really come out that are getting that kind of awards attention are Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I've talked about on here before, which is real good, and Top Gun Maverick.
I still haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, even though I really want to. But
Yeah, I would like to see that, and I figure that it'll be on a streaming service any day.
that's
now.
what I was hoping for.
When does that come out? It's got to come out soon on Blu-ray.
The second I saw
Please hold.
the previews, I really wanted to see it, but I just never got to go see it. Yeah, sometimes you're busy. whatever.
Typing. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Blu-ray. Comes
Blu-ray.
out. This is. There's a 4K. Oh, the 4K comes out Tuesday, July 5th. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's in like 2 days.
Yep. I'm gonna purchase that.
Sick.
Are you gonna feature it on Drew's Blues?
Probably so.
I'm gonna go break into Drew's house and watch it on his Apple TV Plus.
So I've been talking some movies. I'll let y'all talk some movies. I've got more to talk about, but I just want to hand it off to y'all, so I'm not talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You guys talked about it last time, so I'm not gonna dwell on it. But Hustle, I saw the Adam Sandler Hustle movie.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm not a basketball guy at all. I didn't care about any of the cameos really. I mean, some of them I was like, man, I remember that guy. I remember because we all had baseball cards, basketball cards when we were kids. I remember like some of the people I was like, oh, that's cool, but whatever. It was just a good story in general. It had it had a really long sports training montage, but the training was kind of cool. But all in all, the movie was pretty good. It was a good watch. We watched with the family.
Family movie for sure.
Yeah.
That was it was one of the least bad Adam Sandler movies recently made.
Yeah, I watched Adam Sandler recently, and not Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore recently, and like that movie holds up like great. Movie's solid all the way through. They don't make them like that anymore. But yeah, that was one that I saw. But as far as movies go, I think that's it. I don't know if this was a show or if it was just one really long documentary. But I watched, you were talking about Netflix documentaries, Keep, Sweet, Pray, and Obey. This is about the Utah, Latter-day Saint cult stuff that happened. And it's pretty cringe. It was cringe the whole time.
I saw a different documentary about this guy. Why can I not think of his name?
Old Molesty.
Yeah, I saw a documentary about this a few years ago, and then I knew this dropped on Netflix. And actually, 2 weeks ago, when we were recording the podcast, we'd been recording for a few hours, and I went downstairs after we finished, and my wife had just binged this series because it's like 4 episodes or so. She'd watched all of them while we were recording, so I caught the tail end of the last episode a couple weeks ago, actually.
A lot of people caught the tail end in that documentary.
It's always I feel like these documentaries. Oh wow, Gary! Wow, it's good to watch these documentaries because apparently some people have trouble knowing when they're in a cult. So hey, watch this movie and see if any of it seems even remotely familiar. You know,
Warren Jeffs. That's what that weirdo's name is. Ugh.
That was
I wanted
the son,
to watch
right?
it. I wanted to watch it, but Brother Henry said that if I watched it, he would tell father. So we're not allowed to watch it in the homestead.
Yeah, man, it's just creepy all the way through. An old guy married like 30 women, and then I think he even married some of their children. And then, you know, his son took over, wasn't any better, said that he was like the chosen prophet of God, reborn, because his father was supposedly the first one. And then, you know, he said the apocalypse was coming. Then he had egg on his face when it didn't. And then, you know, it just got worse and worse. It talks about some of the people who escaped the cult, like how they got away, that kind of stuff. But it's just crazy, because, like, it wasn't that long ago. And to think of, like, because it was widespread, man. It was this whole town. He owned this whole town. People gave him their houses, you know. He owned the police. Like, they would do whatever he said. It was crazy, man. And, like, it was not that long ago. And it's really
Wouldn't that be
eye-opening.
crazy if there were like religious charlatans doing that now, and they had like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they owned stadiums and private jets? Wouldn't that be crazy? If
Yeah, it'd
that
be
happened in
crazy. And
today's
they're
age?
using their influence to, change, you know, government policies and
That'd be insane.
strip people of their bodily autonomy. And, yeah, it'd be horrible.
Crazy.
Well, what a crazy
Yeah.
dystopian world that, you know, I personally don't think could ever really happen.
Luckily, no one uses the name of religion for their own personal benefit.
It's just weird to me that some people watch Handmaid's Tale and, like, root for the what do they call? I forget what their country's called. But they root for the bad guys, and that's just weird, man. That was actually a thing.
Also on Netflix, I was going to say I've been watching God's Favorite Idiot. It's a new Netflix show, and it is okay.
I haven't heard of
It's-
this.
I haven't heard of this either.
It's got what's her name in it? I see Drew's typing, so hopefully he can
Melissa
tell me.
McCarthy. Yeah, this is the one she and her
McCarthy.
husband made.
I
I
love-
have seen this one pop up on my
Oh,
feed.
what's her name?
I love
You
the
know.
research that goes into.
Oh, what's her name?
It's
Drew does
Melissa
the
McCarthy
research.
and Ben Falcone, which is her husband. And anytime they collaborate on projects, they're usually pretty bad. So I
Like
usually
Thunder
if I see-
Force.
If I see his name pop up, it's a deterrent for me. I'm like, nope, I'm good.
So she is like fingernails on a chalkboard for me. I don't think that she's very funny, but she does have her moments. Every now and then she hits it really big, but I feel like she misses like 90% of her jokes, and she's real grating. But the rest of the cast and the story in this is actually pretty funny. It's called God's Favorite Idiot. She is just like the Office idiot. She's grating and horrible, and nobody likes her, and she's really mean and does a bunch of drugs, and no one believes anything she says. But a guy at the office has the ability to glow like divine radiant light, and really good things keep happening to him. Like he hits every single green light, and he doesn't know why. And it turns out that he's chosen by God, and he just doesn't know why or to do what. And he's just an idiot. He just doesn't really know anything, but he's kind of just a really friendly, nice guy. And so he is sort of a good harbinger of good. He's just also so simple and so dumb. And she's in love with his character. And if it wasn't for her, I think the show would be a lot funnier. But it's a lot of the people in the office are trying to help him figure out the who's it's and the what's it's, like what his purpose is. So there's a larger supporting cast of pretty funny people. If you like Melissa McCarthy, you will definitely like this show, I think.
I like her sometimes.
Yeah, give it a shot then. You might not hate it. But there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, boy, I wish she was not on the screen right now. Because the rest of the premise is funny. It's just kind of like The Office meets Bruce Almighty, sort of, except Bruce Almighty's an idiot. It doesn't know how he's doing any of the good stuff. So there's something here. You know, the show's not totally bad, but maybe it's just, like Drew said, maybe it's just made by the wrong people. But conceptually, there's something here. So I would say if you don't hate Melissa McCarthy, watch God's Favorite Idiot. I really don't care for her comedy, and I got like 4 or 5 episodes in. I might go back and put it on in the background, watch it more, but it's God's Favorite Idiot's not a total bomb.
Yeah. Is this on Netflix? You said.
Yes, I do believe it's on Netflix.
I've also
You
been
got me
watching.
on a. I'm just on a wormhole reading Melissa McCarthy's filmography and things, and it's just like she's been in some things that I like for sure. Like obviously, I do think she's very funny in Bridesmaids, and that's the one that really launched her and kind of made her more of a leading lady. And she's been in some comedies I think are okay, but I like more of her. She has a select few movies where she's playing a serious role, and I think she's a very good serious actress when she wants to be. For comedies, it's hit and miss, but I do still find her likable.
There's something about her that's not totally hateable, but her comedy can be grating, is what I would say. She can be grating sometimes. I can have enough of her. But there's a lot of comedians that are that way, where they're really funny in doses. I'm just not sure if she can carry an entire show because she's so slapsticky.
She is playing Ursula in the live action Disney Little Mermaid
Could be good.
movie.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I have no complaints about that. That sounds perfectly fine. Yeah. So I've also been watching a couple shows on Netflix. My family, we had a get together. Finally, got around to watching The Floor Is Lava season 2, Gary.
Yeah, hell yeah,
Have you
my
seen
man. The day it came out, I told you needed to watch that with your
Dude,
family.
I was laughing so hard.
How are there only 5 episodes of Floor Is Lava?
Dude, probably because people got hurt. Because there's a couple things. A couple times.
Man. Yeah, like it looks like people are gonna spit out all their teeth. They just straight face to platform.
There
sir.
There were a couple, like, people would jump, Drew, and like land and then slam their face as hard as they could into like a hard surface, and then they're like, "I'm okay." And like,
it's so good
happened a couple
because
times.
you can you see them jump and their feet slide out from underneath them, and they haven't seen it yet. But as a viewer, you're like, "Uh-oh," and then they're falling. And then they realize it. So, like, you can tell they can't even get their hands up in time. So you see their, like, chest tense up as they know they're going to commit face first to a platform. And there's just something about it that's just so great as they bounce back into the lava, never to be seen surfacing from the lava again. The lava eats you and you don't come back.
Yeah, they
until
never
next
show you
challenge.
emerge from the lava. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. Season 2, they added a new, like, I don't think they had it in season 1 where there's, like, team versus team, right? It wasn't like that.
So it was like that, but they didn't keep the team in the arena. So, like, you would go backstage, whatever, to the green room in between.
Yeah,
but
but then
now they
they
keep the team in the arena.
Yeah, now they
And
keep the
then
team in the
two
arena.
winning teams have that, like, runoff on the big volcano, and that's new.
Yeah, that's new. Yeah, exactly. So now there's 3 teams compete. The top 2 teams move on to the volcano, and they go at the same time across an obstacle course with their full teams, and they have to get to the top of the volcano and place rocks on it the fastest to win. And it's just, I mean, I laughed really hard. It's a good show. You should check
My
it out.
fat, sloppy ass couldn't make it up that volcano with all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat at this point in my life. But I don't know, it's just really funny to watch people, get hurt. It's funny to watch people talk a lot of shit about how awesome they're going to do and then, like, go out real early. It's always a fun time. But yeah, Floor Is Lava Season 2
There are
is...
new rooms in Floor Is Lava Season 2. They have a lot of new fun traps and things to watch. If you haven't seen Floor Is Lava, now that there are 2 seasons, go watch Floor Is Lava. There's a ton of content for
It's
you to watch,
fun,
and you
man.
should
It's a
love
fun
it.
show. It's good to watch with your family. It's family-friendly fun.
It's sort of like an old Nickelodeon challenge show mixed with Ninja Warrior, where it's a lot of physical challenges like Ninja Warrior, but it's a lot of oversized, silly household traps that they're falling off of. And it doesn't have that level of competitiveness that Ninja Warrior does. they're mostly regular people in Floor's Lava, with the exception that they're regular people that are in shape well enough that they're not going to sue Netflix when they
I'm
get
sure
hurt.
they have to sign something, but yeah.
Everyone's in shape-ish in that show.
Yeah. But yeah, that show's good. Definitely watch. Great family-friendly fun. Watch it with my family. We had a good time. The other thing on Netflix I finally got around to watching season 3 of Love, Death, and Robots. If you like seasons 1 and 2, this is more... It's hard to say it's more of the same because, every single episode is completely different. They do bring back some... I think they might have only done it once. They brought back, like, one of the scenarios, like one of the set of characters for, like, a part 2, which was pretty cool. But it's more of the same. It's a bunch of different styles, a bunch of different unconnected stories. It's an anthology, and it's very, I don't know, you get to see a lot of cool stuff. One of them is like, some of them are horror. I know one of them was called like Tiny Zombies or something, and it was just like a really high up shot of like little like screaming people. They're like me 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 me, like those kind of people. Like Sims or something, like going through a fast-forwarded zombie apocalypse. It was really funny to watch. It was like 8 minutes. And there's some really trippy stuff, some really visually impressive stuff. It's definitely still got whatever it is that it has. And I didn't see anything. I didn't watch the last 2, I don't think. But I didn't see anything that was necessarily triggering, Gary.
Nice.
I know season 2 had a
Death,
rough
Love,
one.
and Robots. Yeah, there's some really violent stuff in that show. I like it. Besides the title is pretty telling. Death, Love, and Robots. You get a lot of death, a lot of sex, and a lot of really cool futuristic stuff.
It's good stuff.
So I'm really cool with all the futuristic stuff, but a lot of death and sex I could do without. So I don't know. The show to me is pretty hit and miss. Just by its very nature. I know I'm not the target demographic.
Yeah. But that's pretty much everything I've been watching.
I have been on my Hulu machine. Been watching the Orville. Been watching Holy Moly, staying kept up. Orville New Horizons is still great. I don't really have anything to add other... I've told you guys about the Orville before. Everybody knows I'm a huge Orville fan. It's a comedy. It's Star Trek, except it's funny. I had actually went back and watched the pilot episode again recently from the very beginning, and I think that a lot of the comedy from the beginning is almost gone at this point of the show. Like, a lot of the jokes that they would pause and decide for and do, they kind of wrote those out, and it's just kind of a much more serious sci-fi
They
show
kind
now.
of turned it into like just actually Star Trek, which is weird.
Yeah,
I watched episode 2.
There's still some silly parts.
I liked episode 2 a lot more than episode 1. As episode 2 was good.
I do. I like that kind of thing, though, Gary. Like, if you've been watching a show for a long time and you go back and rewatch the pilot to see if there's anything new, or like when you really know these characters and seeing how they've grown. I always think that's a fun thought experiment in a way.
They really cut so much of the comedy out, which is crazy to me, because it didn't seem to have too much comedy in it in the first place. By too much, I mean it had comedy. It didn't have too
I
much
remember
comedy.
all the initial promos for it were like billing it as almost a Star Trek spoof because of how much comedy it seemed they relied on. And I remember you singing that show's praises back when the first season was on, long before we had a podcast, and you saying like, yeah, they make it seem like it's a spoof or something, but it's not. It's like a good show that has some comedy, and now it's just evolved to being a good sci-fi show. Now
it's just a good show. Yeah, they don't really push comedy like they did. The original scripts were really full of jokes, and now they're not full of jokes. Not on purpose, anyways, like they were. So it's great. The Orville's really evolved, and I think that it will forever hold a place in like sci-fi TV show culture. I mean, it's really great. Firefly only ever got 1 season, and people still sing its praises. And if the Orville had been canceled after 1 season, people would have been singing its praises. For sure. If it only had 1 season, people would have been like, oh, this is the greatest sci-fi show that never got made. It's great. The Orville's a great sci-fi show, and I really hope it's here to stay. I know that now that Disney bought Fox, Hulu, all that business, So this is like a big Hulu flagship show. It's only on Hulu. It's got big green Hulu letters on it. And I would be really surprised if Disney didn't re-up the contract, since they already re-upped it once and made it a flagship show of Hulu. I would think that Disney and Seth MacFarlane will continue to work together to make this Orville thing happen. And if that's the case, I'm stoked. That's great news for me. Also on Hulu is Holy Moly. It's not like you guys don't know what that's about. It's mini golf. There's Muppets this season, and the Rob Riggle's trying to replace Joe Tessitore with Muppets. You guys should check it out.
That's a really funny bit.
You know, talking about a year of podcasting, I'm pretty sure it was like within our first episode or two, Gary was on the Holy Moly train talking about it then, and I love that it's a year later and we're still here talking about Holy Moly.
This is the closest thing Holy Moly has to an official podcast, and they actually send me Holy Bucks on the down low. They play me with Holy Moly Bucks, and so I preach their praises.
I love
and
it.
What I mean is they send me bottle caps that are spray painted gold. Rob Riggle does this. He spray paints them gold. He puts an RR on all of them, and he mails them to me.
Nice.
And the other thing I watched was The Bad Guys. I rented it. I did like a digital renty, and it was like $25, which I looked at it and I was like, do I really want to pay $25 to rent this? And then I thought about how much I didn't want to get into a car and go to a place and then pay $25 to watch it. Because there's going to be $25 for Annie and I both to watch it anyways. So I really didn't want to go do it in person. I watched like so much of The Bad Guys. I got almost to the very end before I looked at Annie and I was like, is this bad? And she was like, oh yeah, this is bad. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I thought maybe it was just me. And then I immediately put on Zootopia and watched all of Zootopia from beginning to end, almost glued to the screen. The Bad Guys really feels like a bad Zootopia. Really, really does. It's like a world of animal people and human people, except they're the only animal people in this whole world. So they like stick out like a sore thumb, which I guess is part of the gag that he's the big bad wolf whenever you see he's a wolf. But he's usually just wearing something dumb like a mustache, and they don't know that the humans don't know that they're wolves. It just really made me miss that entire Zootopia world and how much magic they created with that, and how compelling those characters were. How much better the fox was than the big bad wolf of Bad Guys. So if you're planning to watch The Bad Guys, don't pay $25 to rent it. Just wait to see it as cheap as you can, and then actually don't watch it. Watch Zootopia instead.
It actually, by the time this podcast episode drops, it will be streaming on Peacock. It will be on Peacock as of July 1st.
So yeah, go watch it on Peacock, or don't. Instead, put on Disney Plus and watch Zootopia, because that's actually like that's a good one. And I have one last thing I'd like to talk about. This one is, it's time sensitive, and by time sensitive I mean that it goes on until July 11th. This is Deep Rock Galactic summer event. You know I play as my dwarves underground. I'll be tearing it up. You can get a hat. You can get 2 hats. You get summer hats. One looks like a pina colada with little leaves coming out of it. You have a little drink on your head. The other one is like it's like one of those pink pool floaty flamingos that goes around your head, so it bobbles all over the place, and it's like a little silly hat. It's like 5 missions to get them. Wham, bam, done, easy. I did it in one sitting, my wife and I, because we both play Deep Rock. I think Deep Rock was only going to have like another event or 2 until their next huge update, which is supposed to be 4th quarter of 2022. There is something coming, is what the update says.
It's exciting.
And so I've been trying to keep my finger on the pulse of the Reddit community. And the sort of decisions are, it's going to be a space dragon, like a cosmic dragon, or it's going to be a giant creature that dies and then there's a biome made of its flesh and meat, or it's going to be gnomes. And I thought that the gnomes one, there was no way it was true. But the more I looked into it, the more it seems that there is some causation to believe gnomes might be coming to Deep Rock in December.
It's kind of funny.
I'll always let you guys know what's going on with Deep Rock Galactic. I'm sure I will let you know in like 4 months that they're doing Halloween stuff. That's probably what I expect to be their next big event. But that's everything for me.
I have a couple other movies that I wanted to talk about real quick that I was just going to go through real fast. The first is a movie called The Worst Person in the World, which is about Jahan. No, I'm just kidding.
Boom. I'll take it.
Wow, that's also what God's favorite idiot is about.
I like that out of, your two options, you went with the brown guy, but I appreciate it.
oh, come on.
Race card, boom!
No, I'm just kidding. This is a film. It's a Norwegian film. So it's foreign, but it was back in last year's Oscar race, was getting a lot of buzz and was very critically beloved. And so I finally watched this. It's on Hulu now, so you can stream this. And it's really good. I mean, it's just anybody who's been in their young 20s that kind of doesn't know what to do with themselves in a relationship can find something to relate to here, where you think you're ready to settle down and then you don't know if you are and you can't really make up your mind. It's just kind of that classic. Again, I talk about coming of age stuff, and this kind of fits right in there. So it's like a lot of relationship drama, but it takes a more serious turn in the end, and I don't want to spoil what happens in it, but it just, I don't know. I it's really good. And the lead actress in it, I can't even pronounce her name correctly since she is a Norwegian actress, but she is just super lovely and charming in it, even if you don't agree with the choices that she's making in the film. So that's The Worst Person in the World. I do recommend.
I think her name is Helga Skjalfogard.
No. Looking at how it's spelled, it's Renate Reinsv, but I'm sure that it's pronounced more with an accent that I am not capable of replicating. So anyway, so that's The Worst Person in the World. I also watched, on Father's Day, I watched a Goofy movie.
Ooh.
I made my daughter watch it with me because it's one of my favorite Disney animated movies. I would never say this is one of the best Disney animated movies. I think there are ones that are far superior, but this is truly one of my favorites.
It's up there, man. I would say it's up there.
I love it, and especially since becoming a father, the fatherhood stuff in it, and Goofy as a dad and all that, like, I just love it. And I've always loved it, and even more so it clicks with me in adulthood. So
are you a dad,
that's
Drew?
Goofy movie. Huh?
Nothing.
What did you
I
say?
said, are you a dad? You never mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fair enough. Is me being a dad the zombies?
Yeah, it's a zombie thing.
For me?
Yeah.
That's fair. So anyway, that's a Goofy movie. I just wanted to mention it. And then as far as some TV shows go, I mentioned previously that I had watched Hacks season 1 on HBO Max. And so I've been watching season 2. I'm a little over halfway through season 2. And if you liked season 1, I think you're going to find more to like here. Yes, Gary, you have a question, a comment?
I think I just finished Hacks season 1. I think I just watched the last episode. But there might be another one. Yeah, I think I did. I'm not sure if I watched the season finale or not. But I've been watching Hacks season 1, and I think I might have just watched the last episode.
I know that last time we had talked about it, you had recalled seeing the first few and liked it and then stopped. And then now you've gone back and watched more. So would you say you still like it?
I like it more this time around. Just because this time I'm like, I was like, I'm gonna watch Hacks, and last time I was like, what is this? So this time I'm a little bit more focused to watch it, and yeah, I really do like it.
Yeah, the second season, the in the first season, the main character Deborah Vance, played by Jean Smart, has like a Vegas residency and does a stand-up comedy show there. And the second season, she's on the road she's touring. And so it brings a different element to the show because it's like has the road trip element to it that is interesting. At first, there was a point in the first few episodes where I was like, I don't think I like this as much as season 1. But as it's gone on, it's getting back into some of the character drama stuff, and I'm getting back into it. So I've only got 3 episodes left, so I'll be finishing that within the next week. But I am still really liking Hacks. And then the other show that I have started watching, one of the most famous HBO television shows that I just have not watched to this point is The Sopranos. Sopranos started in 1999. I was 10 years old. I was not watching The Sopranos when I was 10 years old. And I know
was.
a lot of... I know you were... I remember, Gary, being at your house growing up, and it'd be, I assume it was Sunday nights that Sopranos came on, and like it was
That's
Sopranos
exactly
night.
right.
And he had to be quiet because Gary's mom and dad were watching The Sopranos, and I remember me and Gary having to like make sure, we weren't interrupting the show because Sopranos was an important show.
Yeah, the
And,
closest thing my family ever had to a family night was watching organized crime together. Violence. Organized crime, violence, and nudity. Every Sunday for the Lord.
I've been wanting to watch... Gary, have you watched all The Sopranos? Like, did you go back and watch the old seasons? Have you seen it all?
I've seen it all. Yeah, I haven't gone back and watched.
Getting in people's homes, and then how they had to get their start in showing sports and boxing and then comedy specials and all that kind of stuff. But of course, The Sopranos is a big part of that. And as I was reading it, I was like, you know what? I think it's finally time that I watched The Sopranos. So I am almost done with season 1. I think the show has actually aged really well. It's still really good. James Gandolfini is just incredible in it and is Tony
Rest
Soprano.
in peace, man. Yeah, he was just born for that role.
And I actually have been reading a different book along with this show, and I'm holding it right now. It's called The Sopranos Sessions. And
Whoa.
it is a book that's written by Matt Solarsites and Alan Sepinwall, and they were both TV critics who were writing about The Sopranos as it was airing on TV, and now have gone back and basically did like this reflective book. But the way that the book is structured is they cover every single episode in this book with like analyzations and things, because Sopranos is such a well-written show and there's so much metaphor and things to analyze within it, and these guys kind of go into it. So it's been fun to read this book as a companion, watch an episode, read about it in the book. Probably doesn't appeal to everybody watching a show that way, but for me, as somebody who likes to consume a lot of content, I've been really enjoying it. But yeah, I'm almost done with season 1 of The Sopranos, and I'm not treading into any new territory here by saying Sopranos, pretty good show.
Sopranos is certified fresh out the box for sure.
For sure. I've been keeping up with it, considering it's an hour-long drama. Y'all know me with TV shows. I've been steadily treading along with this one and really enjoying it. So that's it for me.
Yeah, you guys don't talk about what you want. I got a couple things that we've been playing. Well, I've been playing, and then one thing that me and Gary played. But yeah, so first off, I finally bit the bullet and got Starship Troopers, the RTS, on Steam. It was pretty fun. A lot of callbacks to the movies. You like the movies, it was kind of interesting. It's also one that I would say you could totally pass on. It's not revolutionizing the genre.
Better or worse than Beaver Sim?
Beaver Sim, like, Timberborn is what it's called. That one...
No, I'm renaming it. It's called Beaver Sim. No.
Timberborn was... it lost steam for me pretty quickly. I feel like there wasn't a lot of end game there. This game is more mission-based and, more combat-based. This game's probably more fun. And Starship Troopers is a better theme than Beavers, but also
debatable.
This game was okay. Yeah, it is debatable. And then the other game me and Gary played, Shredder's Revenge, came to Game Pass. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Free to play on Game Pass if you got it. It's also available on all systems, I'm pretty sure. One of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played. It's fantastic. It is... there's some like mild leveling up. There's a good campaign. The bosses are fun. Every boss is different. It's just a whole, I don't know, I really like the way each character plays differently. Like, you're not just skin swapping. Like, Raph does the most damage, but, like, Mikey's the fastest, and, like, you know, they all have, like, Donatello has more reach, and Gary plays Leonardo, and I believe he's really good at juggling and, like, knocking people around. And then also you can play as Splinter and April O'Neil. Supposedly you could play as Casey Jones, but we didn't get there if you can. The bosses are really fun. This game, if you grew up playing Ninja Turtles on the Super Nintendo, Turtles in Time, any of that stuff, this game is everything those games are, and like this is fan service and homage done correctly. This is absolutely a game made by people that love the subject matter, and it shows in every level has at least one new enemy type. But usually it's more than that. Every boss battle is completely different and engaging. And, you know, there's collectibles. There's lots of fun stuff to do.
Yeah, there are collectibles in every level. They let you go different ways and interact with different characters. Yeah, the leveling up, you unlock bigger, longer combos the more you play, and new special moves. And it's 6 players all at once. You can play with 6 players
It is
online.
6 players. And
like Jahan says, if you played that original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game, Shredder's Revenge has all that same feel and vibe, but it's brighter colors, better music, cooler boss fights, and the maps are more fun. It's a great beat-em-up game to play with couch co-op or play with a friend. You can play online seamlessly, no problem. Jahan and I played online, beat 'em up, and it felt like we were in the same room. I immediately called my brother and told Thomas, was like, yeah, you gotta add that Shredder's Revenge. It's a lot of fun. And 2 of the guys from Wu-Tang Clan did the intro music for the game.
the music
So it's even got
slaps
Wu-Tang on the track.
so hard. Like, me and Gary were jamming out, man. Like, the music's great. This game is so impressive, man. Beat 'em ups are usually all the same. This game is like a breath of fresh air. And yeah, I was really excited for the new Battletoads game that came out. I don't even remember that. But that game,
I played that game and it was fine. I've actually dabbled in Shredder's Revenge too, since it's on Game Pass. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play it with y'all. I played it by myself, which it's a testament to the game. It's still pretty fun to play on your own, but man, that 6-player co-op seems like it would be way fun.
yeah, I would love to jump on and play with you guys. That game's really fun. Yeah, the Battletoads game was not co-op online. That's insane. It's we're in 2020. It came out in 2021, I think.
That's right. I forgot that it wasn't even online
Wasn't
co-op.
online
Yeah, what a
co-op.
silly decision.
That's bananas. You can't do that for a game where co-op is so crucial. And like also it was only like max 3 players. I don't know, man. That game was like a fail. Everything that game wasn't, this game
So-
was.
You can play as Casey Jones, but you have to beat the story mode first to unlock him.
Fair enough. Yeah, Casey Jones he's so cool, man. Like, I saw him in action in some of the trailers. He looked dope. So we got to do that. But yeah, no. Shredder's Revenge is 100% certified fresh. Go play it now. If you have Xbox Game Pass, you own this game. You have it already.
It's
Go play
funny
it.
because it's fresh, but it isn't, right? It's the old thing recycled, but they recycled it so fresh. Like, it's
So
more
fresh.
fresh now than it was the first time you played
It's
it.
so
Shredder's Revenge fresh still.
Yeah, it is so good. The last thing I want to talk about, I haven't talked about board games in a while here, but I do every now and again. Finally, the backlog. I have so many games that are in warehouses in China right now. Like, I've ordered from Kickstarter a bunch during the pandemic. You know, every now and again I would get one. None of them showed up, but finally they're starting to come in. You know, I got like my Nemesis locked down a while ago. Me and Jenny both ordered games from Alley Cat Games. They're a UK-based board game company. I got Dice Theme Park, which is, you know, the sequel to Dice Hospital. Looks super fun. I haven't got a chance to play it. I opened it up, touched all the pieces. It was nice. I got the Emergency Roll and Write, which is a roll and write based off of Dice Hospital. Very fun. Did get to play that. It was very quick, very easy. Me and Jenny today, she also got Eternal Palace, which is like a game about like painting landscapes, but it looks really fun and engaging, very pretty. Nice components. And then she also got Paper Dungeons, which is like it's a simultaneous side-by-side dungeon crawl. You're all going through the same dungeon, but like on your own. Some of the things interact with the other dungeons. Like if you pick up a gem in one dungeon, it's gone for everybody, that kind of thing. But you're leveling up your team of 4 heroes and trying to beat the bosses and get the most glory. And that one was absolutely a blast, a lot of fun. Alley Cat Games coming out with the hits. It's just nice to have board games coming in. And I'm probably going to have more to talk about board game-wise next time, because by the time this airs, it'll already close. But one of our favorite board game cafes, there's only like a couple that we go to. There's Coral Sword, there's Teen Victory, and there's Battle Hops. Those are like the 3 big ones in Houston. Teen Victory is shut down forever. It's gone. It's done. They never quite recovered from COVID. Blah, 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 lots of reasons. It sucks. Because they're always busy. They just couldn't handle it. That whole area is going up. But this Wednesday, as of the filming, but last Wednesday, as of the release of this, they're selling off all their board games. I'm going to go try and get as many discounted board games as I can. So I'm pretty excited for that.
I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you get some good deals and some cool games that we can play.
Yeah, man, I got my eyes on some. Like, I really want Suburbia. I'm hoping maybe I can get the Mage Knight, which is like a really big, expensive game.
Isn't Suburbia the one with Shia LaBeouf?
I don't know what joke you're making. What are you talking about, Suburbia?
It's Disturbia. It's a movie called Disturbia, and it's not the song by Rihanna.
That's funny.
Isn't Suburbia the one with Halle Berry?
What's he doing?
What's that one?
Yeah,
Gothica?
what's that one? Gothica? Oh wow, yeah, that is Gothica. I remember that.
All right, let's stop. Let's just close
Let's
the
stop
show.
while
up.
we're
We gotta
going.
go.
Yep, let's wrap it up.
Hey,
Wrap
thank
it up.
you everyone for
Stop
listening
doing
to
that.
Fresh Out the podcast. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire Johanna at RockFact on Twitter.
Thank you for listening to Fresh Out the podcast. I am the board game guru, Johannanon at RockFact on Twitter.
What? You are? Okay. Well, I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, and this has been episode 52 of Fresh Out the podcast.
Wow.
And I'm Drew Munhausen, and this has been
Stay fresh, everyone.
Stay fresh. Hey, stay fresh, everybody. We'll see you next time.